Welcome into an extra special episode of live draft coverage of the FFPC Best Ball Tournament. I am, of course, Eric Balkman, your host. You follow me at Eric Balkman on Twitter, and I'm pleased to be joined with my co-host tonight, who's actually drafting in the 2022 FFPC Best Ball Tournament on the hunt for a $200,000 grand prize. It is the incomparable Dave Terpoilli. Dave, welcome into the broadcast tonight. How are you doing?
We're back. We're back, baby. We're rocking our TO Eagles jersey for some good luck.
Oh, is that what you got on?
Go.
Nice.
TO 81 Eagles jersey. Let's dance.
All right. So this, as a reminder, is a $200 entry to get in. I beg your pardon. It is a $125 entry to get in for a $200,000 grand prize. In this basically the FFPC has doubled the grand prize. It's doubled the prize pool from last year, and Terp is going to be drafting tonight. This is his second stab at this contest, as he drafted originally about 3 weeks or so ago in this contest. He is drafting from the 5th spot tonight, and he is on the clock. Jonathan Taylor, Christian McCaffrey, Cooper Kupp, and Justin Jefferson are off the board. Terp,
no surprises early. I pretty much debated this all day, like how this is going to come up. It's pretty much down to two guys. Jamar Chase, or a little bit of a surprise in Stephon Diggs. It's just a question of, do I feel like being crazy? The only issue with Stephon Diggs to me is I feel like if you take Stephon Diggs, you kind of have to find a way to get Josh Allen to compete with the masses in a bigger field tournament. So that's my only worry with Diggs. So I'm going to go with Chase. I don't have any Chase shares yet. To me, he's easily the better play right here. So we're going to take him and keep it moving.
Do you feel, Terp, when you're thinking about an early round receiver, do you use the whole, because it's obviously easier to get Chase and Burrow in this competition than it is to get Diggs and Allen. Do you feel like you use that as a tiebreaker early on when you're looking?
100%, because with Allen, I mean, with Diggs, obviously, I feel like most teams that are building Diggs teams are doing everything possible to get Allen. So if you just take a naked Diggs team without Allen, it could put you in a big hurdle if, let's just say, playoff run, they both go crazy. So to me, it's the safer way to do it. I'm not saying I'm probably going to do a bunch more of these. If I was in the same position again, I wouldn't take Diggs, because you can build a different Diggs team from the spot. Because most of the time, Diggs is going 9, 10, 11, 12, beginning of the second round. So all the Diggs teams are going to look kind of the same. So my thought process was early on is build a Diggs team from 5. But with the value that I've been seeing going in drafts in the last couple of days, last week or so, you're kind of hamstrung to take Allen 3rd or 4th round.
Right.
And to me, that's just, as he's the QB1 without a question, no doubt whatsoever. But to me, it's just not too early for a quarterback for me.
Can you win if you, let's say you don't take Diggs, but you take Josh Allen? I mean, is that a winning combination, or do you have to get somebody like Dawson Knox or Gabriel Davis later?
I don't think you can win in this type of format. You could win your league. You can win a round. But if Josh Allen is setting the world on fire and putting up 20 plus, 30 plus in some games, he's going to be doing that with somebody else. And most of the time, the guys who are moving on with you are going to have them. So you're going to need to be perfect somewhere else. So with Josh Allen, I feel like, obviously he could rush in a bunch of touchdowns and throw them to, Jameson Crowder. You said Knox. I mean, Gabe Davis. But to me, without Diggs, taking Josh Allen is just, you're hoping for an injury. And that's a really tough thing to hope for. In fantasy football, people like to bank on injuries, especially with running backs, but it's tough to do that with receivers.
Is this a tournament, this best ball tournament, is this something that when you're drafting, do you have to have like a Jefferson Cousins, a Chase Burrow, a Hurts Brown, a Adams Carr, Lamb Prescott, Diggs Allen, the guys do you have to have a stack like that in order to have a fighting chance to win? Or can you do it with, some non-stacking naked teams, as you said?
To me, stacking is the way to win this. Can it be done? Of course, you always can have the perfect storm, but if you just look at, you need a bunch of injuries to have a naked team win, in my opinion. And yeah, there's plenty of options out there where you can just draft the perfect guys. But to keep moving on each round, this is not just like a one league type of thing. You got to keep moving on to go on. And the only way to do that to me is just keep stacking. It might not be the Burrow chase. You could build it the way we did it the first time with, Wilson, Moore, or Jones and Tony to be different. I don't think I'll take that route again, but it's definitely, it can be done a different way. It's just, you're trying to be different without being too crazy.
Where did you pick in the last one? Was it 9 or 10?
7.
7. Oh, okay. So now when you're picking this close together in this, are you going out of your way to be different given that you had a 7 pick and a 5 pick?
No, absolutely not. I don't like to get too cute sometimes, especially in the first couple of rounds. Like, I want to be different, but like if one player, 2 players that are still on the board right now fall to me, they're going to keep falling no matter what. I will not pick them. So I'm hoping they get picked pretty soon. The guys I have in my queue right now, they're definitely 2 guys that I don't want. And I think one just went, which is good. So we just need one more to follow him, and then we're sitting exactly how we want to sit. There's plenty of guys that are on the board right now that there's a possibility to build a Bengal stack with Mixon. Not saying I would do that. Derrick Henry just went. That's exactly what we want to happen. Don't want Derrick Henry. Haven't drafted Derrick Henry once.
Is this the year the wheels fall off? Is that why you're staying away?
I mean, I thought last year was the year the back-to-back. Another guy I don't want, Mark Andrews. So this is going very, very well. This just couldn't have literally fit perfect. Saquon Barkley is kind of the guy I would prefer. So right here, Mixon went. So that eliminated the idea. We have a couple options. We could go Fournette. We could go Kyle Pitts. But to me, the answer is always Mike Evans this year. I'm surprised he fell this long. I could see him just putting up number after number with Brady. Godwin, question marks surrounding him. Gronk out. I'm not a big receiver starter in these type of drafts, but I just did it a week ago that was on stream with Jefferson and Evans. So Mike Evans will be my pick here. To me, it was very, very easy. Kyle Pitts was a consideration, but I feel like there's just tight ends so deep this year, especially like in the mid rounds. Mike Evans is too. I feel like after Mike Evans, the drop off's big right now.
Okay. Yeah, if you're looking at guys like Tyreek Hill, T. Higgins, Michael Pittman after Evans, Deebo Samuel normally goes after him, but Deebo Samuel, who has an ADP of 209, shout out to Darren Armani from FantasyMojo.com, at FantasyMojo on Twitter, who's providing this ADP for us in this competition. Normally, Deebo Samuel goes at the 208. He actually went at the 202 tonight, so about a half round. He gets bumped up a little bit.
Thank you for that, too.
Yeah,
Didn't want him. Didn't want him at all.
So with Samuel, for you not liking him, was it the career year last year that has you?
It was the career year, the uncertainty. We talked about this in the last stream. I love Trey Lance this year, but for whatever reason, I'm not a big fan of Deebo. I just don't. He's coming off a career year. He wants a contract. He wants to be traded. You just don't know with him. Is he happy? Is he going to run the ball like he did last year? Everything last year was the perfect storm. I just can see just a malcontent who's just not ready to go. And I could see Brandon Ayuk scoring more points than him this year.
Yeah, we did talk about that. And considering that Samuel was, a 5th, 6th round pick last year, Terp? Correct. Is that right around where he was going?
Right around there, yeah.
Yeah, and now he's a slam dunk second. He was almost a 1st round pick tonight. To me, you are paying a little bit for ceiling there, or at his ceiling, rather than letting him fall a little bit later in the draft where his expected range of outcomes would more likely fall. You're getting a lot of love in the YouTube comments here with the Mike Evans pick. And I would encourage each and every one of you to not only comment, but like, subscribe, hit the notification bell as well, so you're always aware of when we're doing shows. This is one of the shows we do on this on the FFPC YouTube channel, which now is youtube.com/FFPC Fantasy. So make sure you're checking that out. for the live draft coverage that I do with Terp here and the high stakes lowdown from RotoViz, as well as the high stakes fantasy football on Friday. We're doing each one of those shows this week. Lowdown coming up on Wednesday night with the 2020 KFFSC champs, Brad Petri and Darren Larson. And then Friday night, we'll have a brand new high stakes fantasy football hour as well. We're doing some live draft coverage tonight. It's the Best Ball Tournament, the FFPC 2022 FFPC Best Ball Tournament, a $200,000 grand prize at stake. $125 to enter. Remember, if you want to compete against Terp and you want to compete against these 12 owners in this league, you can do so at myffpc.com. The Best Ball Tournament registration is right there. You were talking a little bit with our man Aiden before the show about A.J. Brown. I know you are the pride of Eastern Pennsylvania. You love A.J. or you love the Eagles. Do you love A.J. Brown as an Eagle, Terp?
A.J. Brown is one of my favorite receivers in the league, but fantasy-wise, I would rather have Devonta Smith.
Interesting.
I'm trying to be all in on Jalen Hurts. My friends, a lot of them that are listening to this right now, know that I am not a Jalen Hurts guy. Never been a Jalen Hurts guy, but everything's just showing me you can make the throws. A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert, Sanders, Gainwell, Quez Watkins. You can keep going on the list. He has all the weapons in the world. Can he make the throws? You hear that the blurbs in training camp about he's missing throws, he's throwing picks, he's taking sacks, all this stuff. There's no excuses for Jalen Hurts this year. I just don't think A.J. Brown's going to pay off his second round, early third round ADP when you can get better values later.
Terp, we have Team 2 tonight going with a rainbow start running back, receiver, and tight end. Speaking of A.J. Brown, they went with A.J. Brown in the second round. They're also going George Kittle here. Now, Kittle has an ADP of the 311. He goes at the 302 tonight. Do you have any kind of trepidation about now knowing that you have a started receiver, knowing you have no running backs, knowing that 4 tight ends are off the board already? How do you sort of handle this as you let the draft come to you?
I mean, there's plenty of running backs that I would take with my next pick. There's also a receiver that's sitting on the board that would look really nice right now.
So you might go another receiver and start off with 3 receivers yet, too.
It's a possibility. It's probably the lean right now. We'll just see how this pick goes. And it actually went as well as it could have went because I love T. Higgins, and I know the Bengals stack would have looked really nice, but I'm all aboard the train. This pick is the easiest pick that I'll ever make. Everybody that's talked to me that knows me knows this is Travis Etienne. I'm all aboard. I will make a statement right here after I make this pick. I could easily see him being, if not the number one or 2 next year in fantasy drafts.
Right. Yeah.
All aboard.
And there's been sort of a swell. Really the last month, Travis Etienne is moving up quite a bit in all the.
I think he's going to move higher. I think by the time we draft in Vegas, he's going to be right where Joe Mixon, Saquon Barkley is in some drafts.
So get your Etienne shares in the 3rd round now because it's probably not going to last, right?
It's crazy. When we first started drafting this year, he was in the 5th round, 6th round. It's hard to take him in the 3rd round when you have all those shares, obviously later. But in these kind of drafts, you got to go for it all. And to me, starting off the way I started off, it's a no-brainer for me.
When you consider that you had Jamar Chase, I know you talked about Higgins and maybe making a Bengals stack. If Etienne and Higgins were both out there, let's say Tyreek Hill would have gone to team 4, and then you would have had your choice of Hill, Etienne, beg your pardon, of T. Higgins.
Without a question.
Etienne. Still Etienne?
Without a question, Etienne.
Okay. All right.
It has nothing to do with the build, just the player. I mean, I have him ahead of all the last 3 guys that have been drafted ahead of him. Williams, Fournette, and Mixon. And Henry.
Okay.
Barkley, it's close. But if I was taking Etienne, I would take him with Jefferson. With all these guys that came after him. If I was drafting with Justin Jefferson, I would have took Etienne in the 2nd round.
What do you think about James Robinson this year? When does he come back, and how does that workload get split when Robinson does return off that Achilles?
No worries at all about James Robinson.
So,
I don't.
When he comes back, is he just sort of like a change of pace type guy?
The capital is with Travis Etienne. They drafted him in the 1st round. He obviously didn't play at all last year with the injury. Trevor Lawrence is obviously the most important player on your team, and his guy is Travis Etienne. Doug Peterson, the new coach, he's not an idiot. He's going to try to get his best offensive weapon the ball, and that is Travis Etienne. Like I said,
does your Philly fandom play into the Etienne pick, knowing that
not really, because Peterson was never a every down back guy. So it's definitely a worry with him because you're still have that little bit of worry that he's going to be a committee type of guy. Snoop Connor, I think, is like the rookie that somebody says the hot name is like a handcuff type of thing. I'm not buying. I'm all in on Travis Etienne. Hopefully in the next round, you'll hear the all in that's coming right after. I hope he makes it. I haven't got a chance to draft him yet. I just did a draft last week, the same start. So you were asking earlier if I'm worried about my start. I started Jefferson, Evans, Etienne. So we're one player different. I don't really worry about that stuff. Like in the last couple teams of this that I draft, I might try to get some wacky teams in there that are just different. But early on, I feel like it's just never mind. So the second guy, Cortland Sutton, just got drafted. Right. Team 12, very nice start so far. Don't know who you are, but big fan.
Yeah, Swift is a guy that we've seen go in the first round. Obviously, Najee Harris slipped a little bit in this draft. Sutton's getting a lot of love. And then Marquis Brown, Terp, has been climbing up draft boards right now. I remain a little skeptical about him this year, not only for the fact that he's on a new team, new quarterback, new offense, new OC, new everything, but he was a guy that never really put it together for a full season in Baltimore. And I understand the Ravens offense isn't exactly something that features a stud wide receiver that's going to put up big numbers. Marquis Brown did have some great games. I would say he never had a really great season. And now 6 games into it, DeAndre Hopkins is going to come back. For whatever reason, he's climbing up FFPC draft boards. Are you on board with him? He went here at the 401 tonight in the last 5 days of this tournament. His ADP is the 407, so about a half round earlier than when he normally goes. Your thoughts on Marquis Brown right now, man?
I feel like he's a good value early on in the season, I guess. He's a best ball player season long. He's not for me because he's just so wildly inconsistent. There's games where he's going to put up 30, and then there's games he's going to put up 5. That's tough because you're always going to – if you're drafting him in the 4th round, you're starting every week. I mean, unless you're starting, you have 5-6 great receivers, then you're playing the mix and match game. I'm not a Kyler Murray guy. I know that's a very, very wild take when it comes to, most of the drafts these days because everybody loves Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
There's just something about him this year that has me just worried. I'm about to be on the clock.
Yep. Yeah, you are. In fact, I see you on the clock right now. We have 5 tight ends off the board now. Josh Allen went to the Stephon Diggs team at the 9 slot, so you got the stack going there. Terp, you got Jamar Chase, Mike Evans at receiver, Travis Etienne at running back. Who is the pick going to be here?
So we're eliminating the running back position right now. There's nobody that I want. I'm not a Zeke guy. I like Cam Akers, but to me, it's not here. So it's what receiver do I like? Deontay Johnson, Metcalf, Cooks, Gabe Davis, Bateman, Judy, Mooney. They're all in consideration. This draft has been a little more difficult. I thought there'd be a running back run, and there wasn't. So I'm going to draft one of the guys who I've been extremely high on, and that is Rashad Bateman. I know it's probably a little early for him, but I don't have any shares of him yet, so he's going to be my pick.
Rashad Bateman from the Baltimore Ravens, the number 3 receiver, 21st receiver off the board tonight in this best ball tournament draft that Dave Terpoilli is drafting. 3 receivers and a running back there. Going back to the 3rd round here before we get to your 5th round pick, Terp. Aiden in the chat room wanted to know, as I scroll up in the YouTube comments here, and thanks for commenting, guys. We appreciate that. Do you think Travis Etienne has a lower floor than Nick Chubb, or do you think his floor is higher as well as having a higher ceiling?
It's higher in all categories. I have no interest in Nick Chubb.
Now, why is that? Why is that? Are you off of Chubb?
I just don't think he's a league winner. I mean, you have Hunt. Hunt might get traded. Johnson behind him is no scrap, no bum. Is the correct word for it. Deshaun Watson suspension is coming. So the question remains is, are they really going to camp with Jacoby Brissett? I mean, and if they do go with Jacoby Brissett, people are like, oh, Nick Chubb's value is going to go up. How? Teams are not going to – they're going to stop Nick Chubb. They're going to stop Kareem Hunt, and they're going to make Jacoby Brissett beat him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see it. What's the ceiling for Nick Chubb with Jacoby Brissett? I could even say what's the ceiling with Deshaun Watson. I don't unless Kareem Hunt gets moved, which is a possibility, but how many teams are trading for running backs these days?
Not too many.
Not too many.
It's pretty rare.
We have a little tight end run here.
Yeah, I noticed that. So team 2 doubled up on tight ends, getting George Kittle at the 302 and then coming back at the 411 with TJ Hawkinson. So we have now 7 tight ends off the board with Dalton Schultz going at the 501. So yeah, a little bit of a tight end run here. You don't have one yet, but only, I mean, really
not taking one.
You know, it's okay. So here's what's interesting. 2 teams have already doubled up on tight end because team 6 drafting right next to you has already taken Travis Kelce in the 1st, Darren Waller in the 4th. So while there are 7 tight ends off the board, only 5 teams have a tight end. Now, do you expect the tight ends to go a little bit quicker now?
I feel like the run's going to stop. Usually it's at Hawkinson, Schultz, and then it kind of slows down a little bit. I think it'll pick up probably middle to end of round 6. I don't think you'll see another one in round 5. I could be wrong. Who just got you? A.J. Dillon. That's early. I like the player, but 5th round is...
Yeah, A.J. Dillon, 607 on average in this, so he does go a little bit quicker than normal. I want to ask you about a player in the 4th round, but before we get to that, you're on the clock with Chase Evans and Bateman at wideout, Travis Etienne in your backfield. Terp, who is the 505 going to be?
Real simple. This is down to 3 players, still in the receiver category. It's Jerry Jeudy, Brandon Cooks, or DK Metcalf. I'm just so – DK Metcalf should be the pick here if I knew they were going to add somebody at quarterback. I just don't – I mean, this team, you just never know.
Right.
I mean, Pete Carroll's an idiot. Geno Smith, Drew Lock. I'm on the Jerry Jeudy train. I know he's a popular guy that a lot of people are talking a lot of bad about. It's not for me. Jerry Jeudy. I picked him in the first one we did. I have no fear of picking him again. It gives me plenty of options coming through with my quarterbacks. I have Wilson. I have Lamar. I have Brady. I have Burrow. It gives me a lot more options when it comes to stacking my guys coming up, especially in the next 2 rounds. So hopefully that works out with, a couple guys after me with quarterbacks. But there's plenty of value at running back left. Like, I'm not really in love with any of these guys that were on the clock right here. I'm not an Antonio Gibson guy. Jacobs, Dobbins has a ton of questions. Elijah Mitchell. I mean, he was a free agent pick last year.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't know.
Right.
Is he a good player? Of course.
They used the 3rd round pick on TDP this year too.
Number 1 owned player.
Yeah.
Through all drafts so far.
Is TDP?
Is TDP.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's been climbing too. So Terp, do you feel like you've been getting fewer and fewer shares of Davis Price as it's gone on?
It's been tough. I got a ton of them early.
Right.
The field is definitely starting to catch up on that because he was pretty much free for a while. Interesting quarterback run here.
Yeah, so we have Justin Herbert going off the board at the 507, Patrick Mahomes at the 508. That is 3 total quarterbacks off the board. You look at where these guys normally go. Herbert normally at the end of the 4th, Mahomes in the early 5th, so they have been slipping a little bit. Josh Allen, we already talked about him being off the board. Let's go back to the 4th round here. Alvin Kamara goes to team 11 at the 402. Aiden wants to know how far do we see Kamara slipping now? Obviously, until we get the finite suspension, if there is going to be one, that's going to change everything. But it's a bit of a guessing game, Dave, right now.
I read a great tweet the other day, and people said, the guy said, I don't remember who his name was. I saw it on Twitter. If you draft Alvin Kamara, it has to be now up until August 1st. Because August 1st is what some smart people are saying is when you'll know what the suspension is going to be, if there's going to be suspension. So to me, if Alvin Kamara is there in the fourth round of drafts like this guy got, it's a gift. you have to take the chance every time because Alvin Kamara, I put a tweet out earlier, I think it was like 2 months ago. He has top 5 overall, number 1 overall potential. In that offense, what if the suspension doesn't get pushed back to 2023? It's a league winner with that team that he has going right now.
Yeah, Hayden Winks actually tweeted that out a few days ago. That if you want
to that was correct.
Draft Kamara, do it now until August 1st, because he has been getting he has slipped. And as you mentioned, if the case does get pushed till 2023, we should know then by August 1st. But if we find out that the case does get pushed to 2023, all of a sudden, where does he go? I mean, first round, second round, probably.
I can see him getting drafted in the first round easily. Yeah. I mean, is there really a difference between Kamara and Dalvin Cook, Najee Harris, DeAndre Swift, Aaron Jones, Derrick Henry? They're all pretty much the same. Whether you like one more than the other, Kamara has the most. Oh, that's an interesting pick. That's a reach. So this is where stacking gets you in trouble sometimes.
Right. Yep. Yeah.
I'm in no way saying that Matthew Stafford and Allen Robinson isn't a great setup. I just gave this guy a ton of credit, and I kind of, if I think I'm right, who do the Rams play in Week 17? I think it's.
Let me take a look here. I'll bring it up.
Is the 49ers or the Chargers? I think it's the Chargers. I hope I'm right.
Yeah, it is going to be the Rams and the. Oh, and I just lost my. There we go. No, I don't have it.
I think it's the Chargers, so I think I might be wrong.
Rams it's the Battle of Los Angeles.
Okay.
So
that makes a little bit more sense. So as of right now, based off my draft, I'm not going to say it, but I think I might take a quarterback with my next pick. This is usually a little early for me, as I waited till Zach Wilson till I think round 13 or 14. Last time we did this. I won't be doing that tonight. Not that I am any way upset about how that turned out, because looking back at it, which I looked back at it this morning, I got a lot of value in that draft that fell that I really didn't think would fall. So we'll see if it works out here. These two shouldn't take them.
There are 5 quarterbacks off the board. They're all on the right side of the board. So if you are looking for a quarterback here, now's the time to grab it here at the 607, I think it would be for you, or 608, because you have the chance that one of the 4 teams drafting to the left of you would end up getting a quarterback here. So that would make some sense. John Carlson's in our YouTube chat right now, Terp. He wants to know your thoughts on drafting 2 wide receivers from the same team at such high ADP. He uses the example of Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, and then Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. Do you think that drafters should be betting on one or the other at such a high ADP instead of stacking both of them?
I 100% agree. Can the Higgins Chase stack work out? Yeah, it can, but I would much prefer a Chase, Boyd, Chase, Hurst. You know, if you want to get crazy or somewhere else.
So still stack them, but
100% stack. I will stack till I'm dying in all these tournaments. There's never a time. If I don't stack, I'll make mistakes. To me, in these tournaments, can you win without stacking? You can win it anyway. Let's see. I think 2 quarterbacks. Interesting. You take Hurts.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Justin Herbert and Jalen Hurts. So team 7.
This has been an interesting 2 rounds. The first 4 rounds of a pretty standard, not really nothing really falling. Who did the guy just hit?
But I don't really understand, and I know you're so I'll just talk about this right now while you're waiting to see who your pick is. Well, no, let's go to your pick right now.
My pick's easy right here. I'm not a Lamar Jackson NFL quarterback guy, but fantasy-wise, sign me up 100 times out of 100. I didn't think he would fall here. Pair him with Bateman. Still have the options if I really, maybe one of the other 3 guys that we were talking about make it into round 8. But I can't afford to get cute with these guys after me who haven't drafted a quarterback, who have stackable options. I would guess Joe Burrow goes here next. I feel like there's going to be a run right here, but I don't understand what Team 7's doing.
Let's get back to that right now, because we've often said when Dave Gerzak and I broadcasted the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour, we talked about in the pros versus Joes, you can kind of get away with an early quarterback and kind of get away with an early tight end. It's hard to get away with both and to grab two quarterbacks this early in the 5th and 6th round. I'm not sure I understand the rationale.
It's not just two quarterbacks. It's two current quarterbacks as of now with no stackable options. So you look at Herbert, Keenan Allen's gone, Mike Williams is gone. You have him with Eckler. Okay, that's different, I guess. Jalen Hurts, unless you plan on getting Devonta Smith next, Goddard's off the board, A.J. Brown's off the board. So are they two very good quarterbacks? Of course. Are they probably going to be top scoring quarterbacks in this league? Yes, but I don't know. It's not for me. I know people have been advocating taking two quarterbacks early, but to me, the only thing that makes any sense is if you're doing it with stackable options. And yeah, Herbert and Eckler is different. Most people aren't going that way. They're going with one of the pass catchers. And obviously you can go with like Palmer or Everett later. But Hurts, I mean, if you don't take Devonta Smith at the next pick, that pick makes no sense.
20-round slim draft. If you were Team 7 and had Herbert and Hurts on your team,
thanks for the donation.
Are you done with quarterbacks then? That's it. Right?
You'd better be done with quarterbacks.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, what do you even think? Well, like, why would you even consider another quarterback? Like, It makes negative sense to even. Let's see.
Lamar Jackson, by the way, for the viewers out there, normally goes at the 5'11" on average in this format. He normally goes off the board as QB4. He was not QB4 tonight. Terp actually got him a little bit later. He ended up being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, quarterback 7 tonight. So pretty good value on Lamar Jackson there. How does this work now? Because as it's coming back to you, Terp, you have Jerry Jeudy, Russell Wilson still out there. You have Mike Evans, Tom Brady still out there. You have Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow still out there. Would you look at one of those three quarterbacks in the next few rounds and get the double, two different stacking quarterbacks here?
100%. It's not something that like I would recommend usually, but the way this draft's falling out, okay, so we have the next guy on the board. He might take a quarterback. I don't know which one. After that, the next guy should take Brady or Burrow. Mm-hmm. I think he gambled and probably it worked out for him. Let's see. He did. He took Burrow. Okay. So I'm on the clock right now. I'm not taking a quarterback. So I'm going to gamble that one of these guys make it back because I would take him in the 8th round if one of the two came back just to solidify the stack and the quarterbacks and pretty much be done with them and just go elsewhere. To me, I just talked about the guy. I'm not trying to do this for Team 7, but is there any running backs I love? Not really. Is there a receiver I really like a lot? Yes, and that's Devonta Smith. So fly, Eagles, fly. Devonta Smith is my pick.
You got your eagle there. It seems like the similarity that I'm seeing if I'm remembering the first draft that we covered here from you, it seems like you went heavy wide receiver early. Do you find yourself doing that a lot in these best ball tournaments or just best ball drafts in general?
Honestly, it's not been my drafting strategy. I've always been heavy running back early, but I've talked to a lot of people, and I'm not sitting here saying I'm totally off it, but I could see most of my teams starting with one at the max. The first draft, we did Dalvin Cook and Aaron Jones, and I just stopped. Most of my drafts are going to look like that. Like, I feel like after, let's just say Javonte Williams, ETN. After that, Nick Chubb, Connor, Breece Hall is a league winner, but I'm not taking him in the 3rd round. I mean, I feel like by the time he's a league winner, your team could be out of it. If he's there in the 4th round.
Okay, but Breece Hall is not going to – I mean, he's only going to go up, right, in his ADP? He's not going to
He's only going to go up. All he needs is one puff piece in the preseason, and he could be a late 2nd round pick too. He could be an early 3rd round pick.
Right.
I don't think there's any way he goes down.
We talked about Team 11, how stacking gets you in trouble. That was clearly the Stafford pick in the 6th round by Team 11 was clearly because of the Allen Robinson pick in the 3rd round, right? Where he was going after.
What I don't understand with Team 11 is there's always one team where I'm just going to pick them apart. And CeeDee Lamb, love the pick, nothing wrong with it. Deebo Samuel, not a fan, but it's to each their own. Allen Robinson, big fan of him this year. Kamara is a great value. But why do you take a running back and a receiver on the same team with so many questions with a running quarterback? Like, to me, ooh, man, this is just getting worse. I don't like Elijah Mitchell. The Matthew Stafford pick was just a massive reach. I love the quarterback, but
and you know what's interesting about
he's still on the board realistically. He's probably still out there.
Yeah, no, Stafford has an ADP in this format of my God, quarterback 12 at the 8-11, and team 11 got him at the 602. So that's like almost 3 full rounds earlier. And the other thing I look at it, Terp, and I won't say it right now, but I mean, he's got a receiver, team 11, that he or she took in the first round, CeeDee Lamb. If you really want a stackable option, there is another quarterback out there that you could have picked in that spot and chose not to. So I guess
it would have made more sense that he's still on the board.
Right, and he's still on the board. Paul Watkins is in the YouTube chat. Can you take stacking too far, Terp? Would you ever pick 4 players from the same team?
I mean, like if it's like an 18th round like flyer type of guy or like a 20th round flyer type of guy, I don't think that hurts you. But I'm never going to be like Chase Higgins Boyd with Burrow. Like,
okay. So that's overkill then.
It's way overkill. Like if you're taking a shot on a guy, like I'm going to use the Eagles, a Quez Watkins in like the 20th round. Nobody's drafted him. He's never getting drafted. But if you have Hurts, it might make sense. Okay, I'm about to be on the clock. Interesting spot here.
So Terp right now, once again, drafting from the 5th spot. He's got 5 wideouts on his team: Chase, Evans, Bateman, Judy, and Devontae Smith. Travis Etienne's is running back. Lamar Jackson at quarterback right now. You are on the clock. Who is the your 8th round pick going to be, Dave?
So to me, it's Tom Brady or a running back. I don't think there's any receivers here that I love. There's plenty of them left. Do I take Brady? I don't know. I don't think so. I just think it's just getting too cute. I'm going to take a running back here, a running back who I'm pretty high on from the Patriots. I think his upside's high. Ramondre Stevenson will be the pick here. I like the selection. I think he takes over that job this year. I'm not a Damian Harris guy who still hasn't been drafted yet. Oh, he actually just got drafted. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and then the guy after me took Brady, so it doesn't bother me. I just think it's too much overkill. I mean, at the end of the day, Lamar Jackson, I drafted him in the 6th round with the capital for a reason. There's plenty of other receivers I can take coming up, tight ends I can take coming up to fulfill my stacking, love, I guess you could say it. And there's still plenty of running backs and receivers that just fit everything I'm looking for.
Does your drafting strategy change when you obviously have a plan going in once you know your draft spot, but does it change, Terp, as now we're rolling in, your next pick will be the 9th round. We're almost halfway through. You only have 2 running backs. You do have the 5 receivers. Does your draft strategy change for the middle part of the draft or the second half of it? We're like, okay, my receivers, I'm loaded at that position. Now I got to start firing darts at the running back position. Now I got to make sure I get a couple of tight ends here before they're dried up. Does it change, or do you still stick with the plan?
The plan always changes. I mean, there's a ton of tight ends here that are feasible that I could take 1, 2, 3 of them that are guys that I like. I wouldn't say love, but I mean, there's a couple guys here that with my next pick that I'm strongly going to consider, actually really strongly consider. Let's hope they make it back. There's a running back that I really like a lot. Quarterback's probably going to be a wait for a while. There's also one receiver that if he makes it back will be drafted. So there's a ton of options here. One of the receivers that I would take in the 9th round, I would love to stack his quarterback later on. So we'll see if that works out. I'm going to try to give away the Baker Mayfield. It's not Baker Mayfield, I promise. He's something
he's going to go later. He's going to go later.
He's definitely going to go later. And none of his receivers, his secondary receivers, obviously DJ Moore went, and obviously McCaffrey, but Robbie Anderson and Marshall, they're not going anytime soon, I wouldn't think. So there's always an option later, but based off the Lamar Jackson pick, I'm pretty set that I'm going to get 2 quarterbacks, and that's going to be it in this type of draft. That could change if things don't fall, but I'm pretty confident that's how I'm going to end this. I usually am a 2 quarterback in this type of format guy and just obviously hope for the best. But with the last draft we did with Wilson and Jones, should have been Baker, but Ryan Tannehill, I'm okay with those 3 guys. Do I love them? No, but I love the rest of the team. That's really all that matters.
Yeah. We're if you're just joining us on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter, we're following a live FFPC Best Ball Tournament draft tonight. A $200,000 grand prize at stake. $125 to enter. Make sure that you're popping aboard myffpc.com and joining if you want to take on these 12 drafters, including Dave Terpoilli, who is drafting in the 5 spot tonight. Aiden is in the YouTube chat. He wants to know if both Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson were available for you in the 8th round. Would you have still taken Stevenson over Harris?
I would have, yes.
Because you believe he's going to be the guy this year.
Yeah, I just think he's going to be the guy who's going to take over the job. Harrison scored a ton of touchdowns last year, but I just feel like that offense should open up a little bit more. And Stevenson's just a better guy out of the backfield. I mean, James White's not healthy. He should catch more passes. To me, the upside just way higher. Harris, he's not for me. He's not a guy. I'm probably 125 drafts deep already. I might have 1%, 2% Harris.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Not a lot. I mean, that dead zone running back, I guess you can call it, is outside of a couple guys is not for me.
Yeah, with Harris and Stevenson, it's interesting because their ADP has gotten closer together. Only about a round separating them right now in this format. That could change too. I mean, we heard, about a month or so ago that Stevenson was doing a lot of pass pro and working on catching the ball in the backfield. So that could be a role for him this year, especially since, James White is not the player he used to be. Team 1 doubled up in the 9th round with tight end. They have Dalton Schultz and Dawson Knox. Now that makes 3 teams with 2 tight ends. We have 5 teams with 1 tight end. Terp, is that the position you're looking at here? And I hope I'm not, setting you up for disaster here with team 4 because they already have Kyle Pitts. But are you looking at tight end here?
I am. Tight end will be my pick here. It's down to either Irv Smith or Cole Kmet. It's really tough because I have shares of both these guys. They're probably 2 of my highest owned guys. If I probably said who the less guy that I own is Irv Smith, that offense has a ton of potential, but I'm not taking him. Cole Kmet is my pick.
Yeah,
I drafted him so much. He's my guy. I mean, like I said, you asked me early on, like, do you take guys to be different? And yeah, I'm not going to draft the same team every time.
Right. Yeah.
But in certain spots, like if I'm waiting on tight end, it's going to be one of the 2 guys that I just had a chance of. Like there's a couple other guys I like, but I can wait later and just draft 3 of them. And to me, they'd be the same.
Do you find yourself checking your, portfolio or your ownership of teams during the draft as again, a tiebreaker right there between Kmet and Irv Smith. And you're like, well, I'm 30% or I'm, 15% with Kmet. I'm 12% with Irv Smith. Maybe I should take Irv Smith here. Do you ever use that as a tiebreaker to try to?
Not usually. Not usually. Sometimes like in the smaller entry dollars, when it's 100 plus, I feel like it's like a go get your guy type of thing. I know a lot of people don't agree with that. There's a lot of guys who have, are sharp best ball players that try to keep it at a certain percentage and do all that stuff. I'm going to go get my guy type of guy. If I love somebody, I'm going to draft him. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. Last year, I said Austin Eckler to be the number 1 overall player. I was wrong. He was second. But, he still won me a lot of money in a lot of leagues. And outside of a Jonathan Taylor special league, he was a league winner in most formats, and he wasn't a top 5 overall pick, even though I did draft him 2nd and 3rd in a couple leagues.
What do you make of what Team 3 did here in the 8th and 9th round, getting the Trey Lance, Brandon Ayuk stack? Is that something that would be attractive to you in a future draft?
100%. Trey Lance is definitely a guy that his fear with Trey Lance is there's really only a couple options you can use him with. You can use him by himself. It's possible, especially in season-long leagues. in best ball, I feel like Ayuk is the best target to get him with because you can put him with Ayuk. You can put him with Kittle. Samuel is going a little early when it comes to draft capital. But let's see. After that, you're kind of falling off. You're not going to pair Trey Lance with Elijah Mitchell. It just doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why would you pair two guys who are realistically running backs?
We're moving on here in the 9th round, covering the FFPC Best Ball Tournament tonight. This is our second live stream that we've had for this. If you missed the first one, it's on the FFPC YouTube channel from about 3 weeks ago. In case you missed it, we did launch our Football Guys weekday giveaway promo again today. We did this last year. For any of you who drafts either Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday this week, you'll be entered into the weekday giveaway drawing. So, and that's for a free Football Guys team. We'll announce those winners in Friday's mailer. So if you have not jumped into the Football Guys Players Championship, or you're looking to grab another team, or maybe you got some credits in your account that you want to use,
take advantage of it, man.
Take advantage of it. Yeah. And we'll randomly draw 3 winners at the end of the week. Nice little promo that we've had every year that's or last couple of years that people seem to be really, really excited about. So make sure you're signing up for that. myffpc.com/footballguys. So we're almost to the 10th round here. Team 11 is doing, you're the critical guy on this. I'm
1000% the critical guy.
And I don't want to.
I'm really trying to find, like, a lot of these teams are like, I might not like the players, but it's not really about the players. It's about the structure of the team.
And that Team 11, I don't know if I could do something like this in a best ball format. 3 receivers right away. And then your next 4 picks, running back, quarterback, and Matthew Stafford. Freiermuth, okay, I can get on board with that. And then the magic cord, Cordarrelle Patterson, and then the rookie James Cook. I mean, it certainly could win. I mean, it has potential. I'm just not sure that this is something I would do.
To me, it's a losing proposition. I mean, you started off, and then you got scared. Kamara it fell in your lap. You have to take it. I would have done the same thing. If this was me, I wouldn't have took Samuel, but I would have took the same top guys with Kamara. And then after that, you take Mitchell. And then Stafford, we still go back to Dak Prescott. He's still on the board. You could still have Dak Prescott, and you could have took, let's see how this works. I'm pretty sure you could have had Metcalf, St. Brown, Jacobs, Gage, Smith-Schuster, Thielen, and straight down the list. You could have had all those guys, but instead you reach just that's where stacking, I said, like, it's great if it comes at the right position, but if it doesn't, you could be setting yourself up for just complete, like, roster disaster. Now, Garrett Wilson, it's a good pick. It's not a bad pick, but I don't know. That's definitely, like, if I go through these rosters real quick, Team 12, nothing really bad to say about it. Team 10, nothing really bad to say.
What do you make? Did you consider? So I know you were talking about Cole Kmet and Irv Smith. Did you consider Albert Okwuegbunam there at all in the 9th round at tight end?
Wow. I'm shocked at what just happened. So we talked about the round before between 2 guys,
right?
And the second guy is still here.
So now what do you do?
Easiest pick in the world. Back-to-back tight ends. I did it in the first draft. I'm doing it again. I can almost guarantee you without a shadow of a doubt, if I would have done the opposite, he wouldn't have made it back. So couldn't be any more excited with how this worked out. Easy pick. Irv Smith is my pick. Tight end, I might take one late, but I could easily see myself being done. I can't draw it up any better than it worked out. So Irv Smith, the upside is right up there. I mean, talented player. Same thing with ETN. Got hurt last year. Everybody was drafting him last year as to be the next coming, and I'm ecstatic.
What are the chances you would take a third tight end here? And not with this next pick, but on this team for the remainder of the draft?
Probably not great. I mean, it's probably going to be a little bit of a running back run for me.
Mm-hmm.
That could change a little bit because there's a couple guys It's at, receiver. I don't think there's any quarterbacks. Maybe one that I really like, and it kind of fits the mold of what I'm trying to do.
Well, there's one guy that's still out, and we've kind of been dancing around it. There's one guy that's still out there, and now we're, quite frankly, we're 2.5 rounds past his ADP.
He just went.
Oh, there you go. Yeah,
just
Dak
went.
Prescott. Yeah, I don't know what happened with him.
He's been falling in a lot of drafts, and the only thing I can think of is realistically, you only have 2 early round stacking options. If you don't take him with Lamb, you can pick him with Dalton Schultz. But after that, Gallup questions.
Yeah.
Herbert questions. You're not taking James Washington anytime early. So to me, he's the guy that's getting, out of every of the top guys, he's the guy that's getting lost in the shuffle.
What's wild here is not to keep bagging back on Team 11 here, but they could have had, we said earlier, we could have understood Dak Prescott in the 6th round instead of Matthew Stafford to go with CeeDee Lamb.
10th round Dak Prescott and 6th round Matthew Stafford.
Well, but the point is, Terp, like, instead of Garrett Wilson, instead of James Cook, instead of Cordero Patterson, you still could have had a Prescott Lamb stack, and you could have had a Stafford Robinson stack, if that's the way you wanted to go. To have Dak Prescott fall almost out of the 10th round when you have CeeDee Lamb, I mean, it was staring me in the face the whole time.
Everything you're saying is 100% correct, because, like, if you look at this team, like, we talk about the double quarterbacks early. The team, to me, would be totally different if it was Stafford and Prescott instead of, like you just said, Garrett Wilson. If you just take Garrett Wilson out and put Prescott in there, all right, it makes sense. You can see the quarterback run. Team 2. The tight ends are a little early for me, but fine. He got Fields, he got Cousins. The stacks work. The team, like I said, it's structured correctly. Is there guys on the team that I would take over the other ones? Of course, but at the end of the day, you look at a team like that as they went a little early for Hawkinson.
Mm-hmm.
His ADP is probably right around there, maybe a little later. But it's a different looking team, and it's a well structured team with plenty of upside outside of DeAndre Hopkins.
What was the other thing I wanted to put? Oh, you said already you're looking at running backs these next few rounds, right? Given the structure of your team so far?
It's looking like that as of now. I mean, is there another tight end that might make things interesting? Yes. But realistically...
Terp, let me ask you this. You went Kmet and Irv Smith. Now, Fields and Cousins are both gone. But had one of those guys been there, would you have looked at either of those guys to pair with those tight ends?
I would have taken Justin Fields if he was here now.
Okay. All right.
I took him. I have a full bear stack in the last draft I just did. So I'm on the clock right now. So there's a couple different ways.
Yeah.
I mean, is there receivers? I mean, my receivers are fine. I'm not really worried about them. It's pretty much, do I want to triple tap tight end, which would be a little crazy, but I think I'm going to go with a running back here. There's a couple guys here that Ronald Jones is not somebody I love, but Isaiah Spiller is an option. Michael Carter is an option. I think I'm going to go with Ronald Jones and just try to fill as many handcuffs as possible, because CEH is not a guy that I trust. I like him. I liked him a lot more before they got Jerick McKinnon. I actually liked him a lot before they got Jerick McKinnon.
Mm-hmm.
Most people say Jerick McKinnon shouldn't scare you, but you saw what he did in the playoffs, and he was probably their best running back all year. Like,
it's weird because at the end of towards the end of the regular season, McKinnon was doing nothing, and I think his fantasy
nothing at all.
We kind of remember that. And then he had that, those games in the playoffs where you're kind of like, oh man, now have they unlocked McKinnon? Like, is this the guy now? And I think that's kind of gumming up the works a little bit for the Chiefs running backs, and the fact that they signed Ronald Jones as well. I think at that point, and I like that pick, Terp, because with injuries, with everything that goes on with running backs in the NFL, with how the Chiefs use their running backs, I think you grab a piece of it, and then you'll that guy will probably start for you 3 or 4 weeks, maybe more. I mean, if there's a catastrophic injury to Edwards-Helaire or McKinnon.
Also,
knock on
it's
wood. All of a
it's
sudden,
best
Jones
ball.
looks
Like
great.
I'm
Right,
banking
exactly.
on everything with Travis Etienne. Like Travis Etienne gets hurt, this team might be in some trouble. But if Travis Etienne is what I think he is, I just need one other guy. I don't need this team. I don't need the guys to be cute. I just need Stevenson and Jones or one of the other guys that I draft later to just get me 10, 12, 15 points. My receivers are going to be fine. Lamar's going to be fine. My tight ends, no issues at all. If you could tell me I could start every draft with these two guys, exactly where I got them, 100 times out of 100. Because I'm not an early tight end guy. I've never been.
Right.
So if you could tell me I could go exactly, we talked about it in round 9 between both guys. If you could tell me I could start every single draft would be those two players, I would take them in every single draft.
We had
Jesus.
two quarterbacks go in the 10th round.
3 quarterbacks.
2 in the 11th. No, 2 in the 10th, 2 in the 11th.
Oh, yeah.
And now here we're in the 12th, and the only 3 picks have been quarterbacks so far. Is there more of a more pressure on you now, Terp, as you see this unfolding to maybe pivot and take a quarterback here if this trend continues?
I like when trends continue. I don't want to be caught at the end of the run. Is there a quarterback here that I like? Yes, but it doesn't fit with how I'm trying to build a team. I plan on taking another player with the next pick, and if his quarterback comes back, that's great. But there's plenty of options. My guy Baker's still out there. My guy Marshall's still out there. I could do plenty of things later in the draft. 2 guys I like just got drafted. Isaiah Spiller, I'm a big fan of.
Let's talk about him for a second because he was a guy you were considering last round. What do you like about Spiller, knowing that he's stuck behind Eckler and you still got Roundtree and the other guy there whose name is escaping me now.
Let's clarify. Joshua Kelly.
Josh Kelly.
Let's clarify. We have Austin Eckler and then Isaiah Spiller. There's nobody else behind him that I.
Oh, okay. All right. You're on.
They drafted them for a reason. I'm on the clock. So receivers, there's a couple guys I like, but we're gonna stay away from that. Tight ends, same thing. I like my guys. I'm gonna stay at the running back position and just fill in as many handcuffs as you like. I mean, there's another Eagle here that I like. I think he can come back to me. What's the question? Do I do it? Michael Carter is another guy. I think Michael Carter's solid. I don't think he's a bum. Darrell Henderson's an option here. Cam Akers is a lot of question. There's a couple. Man, there's a lot of good running backs left. Let's see. Is there any receivers I love here?
Carter would be solid value, I guess, because he's been falling in drafts too.
Michael Carter is going to be the pick. I agree with you there. I mean, I think Breece Hall could be a league winner down the stretch, but I just don't think they're going to phase him out right away. I mean, of course they have the capital with Breece Hall, so you definitely got to look into that. But I don't know. Something about Breece Hall this year has me worried. Michael Gallup was also an upside pick there, but I'm fine with receivers. There's plenty of receivers left. I mean, realistically, my top 5 guys, I would line them up against anybody in the league right now and be perfectly okay. I don't want to get in the one thing about the first draft when I gave myself a B, or I think it was a B+, I probably drafted 1 or 2 receivers too many. When it came to quarterbacks, they were probably the drop-off I had. So I don't want to do that again. I just feel like running back is probably my weakest position now. And I just feel like enough handcuffs I can get I can get as many as possible, that all I need is 1 or 2 to hit with Etienne, and this team could be a league winner.
Do you find yourself, because I know a lot of people, especially myself included, do you find yourself in like football guys or FFPC mains where you're just taking stabs at these lottery ticket running backs late? Do you find yourself doing that in the mid rounds and through the end of the draft in the best ball tournament, even though it is a different format?
I agree. I mean, I think you have to, because injuries with running backs position more than any is just, I feel like it happens every week. I mean, you lose guys for 2, 3, 4 weeks. I mean, think about Leonard Fournette. He was out for however long at the end of the fantasy playoffs. He was a killer all season, but he didn't get it done when you needed him the most. I mean, you go down the list of everybody who's been hurt. DeAndre Swift was hurt for a while. Keep going. Christian McCaffrey obviously was out for most of the season. Dalvin Cook missed a week here and there. Najee Harris doesn't miss anything, but he gets 1,000 carries, and you just never
Mm-hmm.
know with that team. Saquon Barkley, injury. Derrick Henry, injury. I mean, you go down the list of all these running backs, I feel like the one running back and just hope the second running back works out is just the best strategy to use. And I know that's the popular strategy right now because most people are like, well, that's the winning strategy. That's how everybody won their money last year. They had one running back and then everybody else just filled in the gaps. So that's a worry because you don't want to be like everybody else because everybody else is drafting.
Well, and I mean, you've seen it year to year. I mean, just because a strategy or something falls the right way one year, there's no guarantee that it does that in the second year. And sometimes I feel like you need to get away from that, right? You need to do something different than what happened last year because the odds of, the hero running back strategy or whatever paying off 2 years in a row for a $500,000 and $1 million grand prize in season long doesn't always work that way. So
it doesn't. I mean, you look at some of the teams that won last year, and they were pretty much the no running backs or one running back type of builds with the Samuels, the Cups, the Chases, obviously the Burrow, and you saw the guy who wanted to pick Burrow up on free agency. Like, seriously, who cut Joe Burrow last year? He needs to send that guy like a little Christmas present or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What do you make of this Damian Pierce selection here in the 12th round? I'm
a Marlon Mack guy. I feel like Marlon Mack's a safer pick. Damian Pierce was never the guy at Florida. I don't know. I mean, the only thing that he has going for him is they have a bad team. So if they're just bad and they continue to just lose, they might try to give him a chance to see if he's the guy. It's possible. I'm a Davis Mills guy. Davis Mills is, I think, my second most owned quarterback in best ball. And people look at me sometimes like I'm crazy when I say that, but like he's free in drafts.
So what's weird about Davis Mills is I haven't heard anybody being like, oh my God, he's amazing. He's the type of guy that you think everybody would say, Davis Mills, he sucks, terrible team, whatever. I haven't heard anybody say that. I've heard a ton of people say I love him as my second quarterback. I'll grab him late in the best ball. Like I've heard a lot of positive stuff from high stakes players about Davis Mills this year.
He's definitely somebody I own a ton. I'm on the clock right now. There's no running backs here I love. There's a bunch of them that are okay. But I feel like I can wait a little bit on them. To me, this is just an upside play. And I don't need him right away. But as the season goes on, my pick will be Jameson Williams. I love the player. He was my number one receiver coming out of this draft. Do I love the fit? It might not be the best fit in the world, but he's a guy that can put up 25. He could put up 30 with that speed. 5-6 catches at the end of this season. I don't need him. I don't care if he starts the season out on the pup list. Doesn't matter to me. But with these are 5 receivers I have ahead of him, I don't need him right away.
Right.
This is a guy that could win you a league down the stretch. He's a guy that on a Lions team that's up and coming, they have solid receivers, obviously, with St. Brown and Shark. Great tight end in Hockenson. Swift could be a league winner. He could be a Austin Eckler of this year, if not higher. I think Jameson Williams is too hard to pass up with the team structure that I have. I'm not saying I wouldn't take it if the structure was different. I would never take Jameson Williams as like my third receiver, my fourth receiver.
Dave, how many quarterbacks are still out there right now that you would deem acceptable as a player you would like to have on your roster if things go the way that you want them to back up Lamar Jackson on the squad? Is there 3? Is there 6, 7?
1, 2, 3, 4. The last 2, no worries about getting.
Okay. So that's not a priority for you right now.
It's not a priority for me right now. Lamar Jackson is going to be my guy. Obviously, it's not. We're not talking about like season long where I'm going to start him every week type of thing. But Lamar Jackson's the guy that I'm banking on, especially with Bateman. Hopefully they develop and this team it has the stackable options. I have another stackable option with Lamar Jackson still on the board. If I want to go either the guy who's there now or the guy who potentially could be there. Both are options. Both are later. I mean, I still have 6, 7 rounds left, I think. Yeah, looks like tight end might be done for me. Looks like tight end might be done for me.
Yeah, so let's just talk about that real quick. In the 13th round, there was a massive tight end run right in the middle. In fact, there was 8 picks in the middle. 6 of them were tight ends. Terp, when you look at that, Tunyon, Engram, Njoku, Hooper, Hurst, Brevin Jordan, any of those picks stick out to you? Do you have a favorite among all the tight ends that went in the 13th round tonight?
Out of all the tight ends, if you told me Deshaun Watson was playing, Njoku is 5 rounds too low. To me, he's in consideration with Knox, Ertz type of setup.
Okay.
But with Jacoby Brissett, it's totally different. Even though I think if Watson gets suspended for the year, they will call San Francisco and they will find a way to get Jimmy Garoppolo for 1 year. It just makes too much sense. The Browns want to win now. They gave out a ton of 1-year deals. They're not a team that's looking for the future. Obviously, they paid a ton of money for Watson, but there's just so much questions with that. So why would you take the chance of what's Jacoby Brissett winning you? People can say, oh, this completion percentage and all this yippity yap. He's not winning. That division is probably the best division in football in some people's eyes. Jackson,
knowing the lay of the land, or I guess the unknown that is Deshaun Watson right now. We don't know a suspension is forthcoming this year or at all. Are there any Browns that you would be looking to target knowing that Cleveland wants to win this year?
I'm fading all Browns, except if Amari Cooper is there at a certain value. If he's a 7th round draft, where did Amari Cooper go? 7th round pick, team 3. I don't mind. I don't mind what they did at all. He's their 5th receiver. That's fine with me. If you could be banking on a Watson, you can be banking on Garoppolo, or maybe like Jacoby Brissett, just force feeding the ball.
Right.
It's also a possibility. So I don't mind him as a 5th receiver, but I'm full fade of all Browns. I don't. Nick Chubb probably 1%, 2%. Okay, I'm on the clock right now. He did that on purpose. I know the guy just drafted TDP because he knew I was going to take him. That's okay. It's not as bad as the other one.
Right.
So I am going to take. There's a couple different options here.
Travis Etienne, Ramondre Stevenson, Ronald Jones, Michael Carter are the running backs for Terp's team so far, as he is picking here in the 14th round.
Okay, so running backs to me, there's a couple of them I like, but I'm going to take one here. Cleel Herbert is going to be my pick. I like Marlon Mack. I feel like he could get phased out. The team's bad. We already talked about James Robinson. I have no interest whatsoever. Gus Edwards, he's coming back off the injury. J.K. Dobbins is a question right now. So Cleel Herbert will be my pick. I also drafted him in the first one too. I think right around the same spot. So as my 5th running back, I feel like he has upside because I am not a David Montgomery guy. I know most people are going to come out of this draft and say, hey, your running backs stink. Okay, thanks. Look at the rest of the team.
No, I like the Herbert pick. And in fact, I think Eric B, and not Eric Balkman, but a different Eric B in the YouTube chat said his 2 favorite running backs picked were your Stevenson pick in the 8th round and then Ronald Jones here in the 11th. I like what you're doing with the running backs here because you're not ignoring other positions. You obviously got your 2 tight ends in Kmet and Smith. You still get a high upside pick in Jameson Williams in the 13th. And then you get ETN early, but you still get Stevenson, a guy who could become the guy in New England, at least should be catching a good amount of passes there. Ronald Jones, who technically is the starter for one of the most elite offenses in the NFL. Michael Carter, who was a starter last year, who was 1 injury away from being a running back on it. They have a ways to go on that.
And he's 1 injury away from being the same thing he was last year.
Exactly.
Breece Hall, you don't know. He's a rookie. He might not be ready.
And think about Cleel Herbert last year, too. How many games in a best ball format was he starting for players? Probably a good number, especially when Montgomery went down. So 100%. I think there's a lot to like here.
100% right.
Yeah. All right. So moving on here, we have 21 quarterbacks now off the board with Mac Jones going here in the 14th round. You have Cameron Breit as the latest tight end to be selected. He went as tight end 26. He is also in the 14th round here as well. I believe those are 2 positions. I know you're still looking at quarterback at some point. Are you still looking at tight end, Terp?
At this point, I don't think so. I mean, let me just check to see who's there. There's one guy that maybe, but maybe two. Like, I might sniff Gronkowski later just as a dart. And there's one other guy that's out there that I might look at, but probably besides that, like the guy, team one, you just drafted Trevor Lawrence. I'm fine with that. But what Deshaun Watson, I don't understand the pick. The pick just they're your only like team one. Okay, you started off Taylor and Pittman. I love Michael Pittman, but I don't know if I love taking the running back and receiver on the same team. I just feel like with a team like that, with Matt Ryan, who's not a gunslinger,
right?
One of the other is going to go nuts. Of course, they can get in shootouts and stuff like that, but all right, I'm going to be on the clock in about a minute, and I have my plan. Let's see if it works out.
By the way,
we're going to try this late round plan again and see if it works out.
Jake Valish, who is drafting right next to you.
He did it on purpose. He knows he did it on purpose.
He said he gifted you Lamar Jackson from the 6'5".
He can gift me all he wants. He took TDP from me. I'll trade him. Tell him straight up.
He said, I gifted you Lamar, couldn't let TDP slide as well. He actually wanted to do the Komet field stack. He says that's one of his favorites this year. He says you sniped him on the Cole Komet pick.
See, like I said, with that pick, it kind of worked out. So I'm on the clock right now. Before I finish that statement, I'm going to try my plan and see if it works. If it doesn't, I have another plan. But I'm taking Nico Collins here, receiver from the Texans. He's probably my top 3%. Probably my top 3 to 5 receivers owned in best ball right now. He was free pretty much early on.
Right.
There's a lot of questions with Mechie, coming obviously from that injury from the game against Georgia. I like him. I feel like I could get his quarterback, but I also have another quarterback option if that doesn't work out. But back to we talked about the tight end thing. Like I can't emphasize enough how pumped I am that worked out because, like I said, if I go Irv Smith right there,
you don't
pretty much just came out and said he's gone.
Yeah.
So if I take Irv Smith, then the team looks totally different. It just shows you in certain picks, like one pick different could change your whole draft. So the way that's set up, like we sat there and talked about it, one of those two guys, I took the right guy and got the same guy later, which I'm still very shocked about.
We're covering the 2022 FFPC Best Ball Tournament, $200,000 grand prize at stake in this tournament. These 12 drafters tonight competing for that with hundreds of other drafters, thousands of other drafters, as each one of these drafters plunk down $125 to join. If you want to join, myffpc.com is where to go. Don't forget, we also introduced a Superflex Best Ball Tournament this year as well. Just $35 to get into that one, and you can win $10,000 there if you prefer Superflex. That Best Ball Tournament also available at myffpc.com. Nico Collins, tell me a little bit about him. We talked earlier about how we both kind of like Davis Mills. Obviously, Brandon Cook's still there. Does Collins, are you expecting a sophomore step forward here from the?
I am. I think he was a solid player coming out of Michigan. He had some flashes last year. He wasn't great, but we're talking about a bad football team, a team that realistically is in a bad division, and a team that is going to be behind a lot. So for somebody who's a pretty big believer in Davis Mills from a best ball standpoint, not a season-long standpoint, totally different. I really feel like between him, Jordan, the tight end, obviously Brandon Cooks is a 4th, 5th round pick in some drafts. This team's getting ignored when it comes to fantasy football. There's a couple teams that are out there just totally getting ignored, and I feel like you can backdoor a lot of stacks like we did in the last draft with, Wilson and Jones and Baker Mayfield. Nope. But I feel like there's a ton of different options with guys that are still on the board. I mean, you have quarterbacks like Jared Goff. If I wanted to go that way, I could with Jameson Williams. Ryan Tannehill. You have, if I drafted Hooper or Robert Woods, something like that. Carson Wentz, you still have options. Baker Mayfield, you still have options. Mariota. I mean, do I love any of these guys? No, but I just feel like you could backdoor some options that at the end of the day, I need Lamar to be Lamar. If Lamar's not Lamar, this team's probably not going to win it. But if Lamar is Lamar and I can get Davis Mills to be better than Kirk Cousins, Tua, Winston, Ryan, Rodgers, a couple weeks, I got a huge advantage.
Eric B in the chat was talking about Jake's team right to the right of you. He likes the Gesicki Tagovailoa stack. Do you like the Gesicki Tagovailoa stack, Terp?
Also with Tyreek Hill.
And with Tyreek Hill. Yep, good point.
He knows what he's doing. He's a very good drafter. I mean, he's somebody that, like, when I first saw the thing came out, I knew he was right next to me. So I knew that most stuff wouldn't, like, looking back on it, I'm very shocked that he let Lamar fall, especially because he took Josh Jacobs and David Montgomery. I just gave him credit. And then, like, oh, man, those two guys. And Clyde, back to back. I mean, those three guys that were just, yeesh. So I'm on the clock right now, 38 seconds. I'm not going to dance with this. I'm just going to take Davis Mills.
All right.
I mean, we don't want to get cute like we did last time. Is there really a difference between waiting another round for him? There's another guy I would like to take over him right now, but to me, it's just get the guy, and I still have another guy I can add later if I want to.
Okay, so you might add a third quarterback, is what you're saying.
I might add a third quarterback.
Okay.
I would not add the third quarterback right now. The third quarterback I would add would be who with who.
Right.
That could be the. So I have 4 rounds left. Realistically, probably going to draft one more running back. I have 5 already, I think. 5. Let me just check that.
Yep. No, you got 5.
5. So I probably wouldn't draft more than one more, and I know who I'm taking with that. He will be my next pick if he makes it, which I'm a little worried right now. But if he makes it, and then I'm kind of just free to just take some shots with guys, because the structure of this team is exactly how I would draw it up. I mean, I can't ask for much more than this draft has given me. With the running backs, obviously running back, everybody that's going to look at the draft, who's not going to be somebody who does a lot of these, are going to look at it and say, hey, your running backs are a question.
Right.
Thanks, Captain Obvious.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's best ball. You only need 2 of them. It's not going to need, I mean, if Chase, Evans, Bateman, Judy, Smith, Jameson Williams down the stretch, there's going to be more receivers going to come off the board here that I like. And the 2 tight ends, this draft, in my opinion, couldn't go on any better than it did.
Terp, when you're looking for running backs this late in the draft, round 17 on, there's basically, ostensibly, there are no starting running backs available anymore. So you are purely drafting backups, knowing that they're not starters, knowing that they're not the guy on their team. What are the traits you're looking for in a good late round running back selection here?
It's all upside. I mean, it's all handcuffs that people maybe are ignoring. I mean, you look at guys like that are out there. The Rob Gronkowski pick just got picked was a very good pick. Just off subject real quick. It's all about guys who could be the next Elijah Mitchell. It could be the next Cordarrelle Patterson. Are those guys in the draft right now? 100%. It's your job to find them. Like, I'm going to use an example of a guy that I wouldn't draft, and that's Matt Breida. Saquon Barkley is obviously a major injury risk, but guess what? So is Matt Breida. There's no, you don't, like, with certain guys, like, there's a little bit of unknown behind them. Matt Breida is not winning you a league. He might win you a week, but the guy's always hurt. He's always, it's always been his bugaboo in the NFL. So to me, it's, you draft a guy that is a little bit of an unknown behind a guy who might have, like, let's see. Let me try to see. I don't want to mention the guy I want to pick.
Right.
Let me try to find somebody else. Like, okay, Zamir White is a perfect example. The Raiders did not extend Josh Jacobs' 5th-year option. Kenyon Drake coming off an injury. Zamir White has a little bit of draft capital and is a perfect guy that you would take in these rounds. Could he be a total dud? Of course. But he's coming from a big-time school, and with your 6th running back, they just pretty much said, Josh Jacobs, you're not good enough. Kenyon Drake, you're there. But
I wouldn't say it's they're saying that you're not good enough. I think it's just a matter of them saying you're not.
Shut up, Mo.
You're not good enough to get paid.
There was the guy.
Hassan Haskins?
Yes.
Yeah.
I've drafted him in every single draft. bigger draft that I drafted so far. That was a very nice pick. That's like my Baker Mayfield, this pick, but and he just takes Amir White. That's back-to-back fun. Yeah. Okay. So that's okay. So it's fine because receiver-wise, I wanted to take this guy earlier. I didn't take him. I'm a big fan of the rookie from the Giants, Wan'Dale Robinson. He's my pick and probably my last receiver that I'll take.
Didn't you get him last draft too, Terp?
I don't remember. I don't think so.
Maybe you didn't. No. Okay. Maybe that's somebody else I was thinking of.
So with 3 rounds left, my plan as of right now, after that, just 2 ugly back. Man, that stuff annoys me. But anyway, I just talked about White and Haskins. These guys are definitely listening, which I like because when you do this stuff, you have to set yourself up for these things. But so far, the draft's been perfect. I really haven't talked myself into any major problems.
Yeah, the somebody in the chat, I can't remember, Johannes said that she really likes your draft. And then somebody else said that the breaks are going your way tonight as opposed to the first draft. Do you feel that way? That you're getting
I agree
the breaks?
Totally. I mean, we talked about the tight end.
Yeah, that was huge.
That was huge because, I mean, like I said, if you could tell me every draft in the FFPC that I do, which I'll be doing a ton, if you could tell me I could have these 2 tight ends in every draft, I would take them 100% of the time. You can take the field. I have no interest in the field. Mm-hmm. Give me those 2 guys, and I'd be thrilled. So, tight end wise, Lamar Jackson. If you told me he's available in the 6th round of, any draft right now, especially with behind Herbert, behind Mahomes, behind Murray, Stafford still shocking.
Right.
Hurts. Yep. Hurts, which you can argue a little bit because his upside's still there, obviously, with all the weapons. I mean, I'm not in the A+ range right now, but I'm very close with how this worked out.
Wow. Really?
And this draft, in my opinion, could be I could finish in 12th place. But if you ask me going into the draft, if I could get a better structure and a better players that fell, like Stevenson, like the Diggs thing I really wrestled with all day because I went in today like saying, I'm going to draft Stephon Diggs tonight. 5th overall, like it might be early, but like what's the difference really? I mean, he's a 1st round pick. I want to take him tonight, but the Josh Allen thing is what I wrestled with all day because I just didn't want to get caught up in that. I have to take him because I have Diggs. Mm-hmm. So, like, I realistically could have passed on. Josh Allen would have never made it to me at my spot. Like, I feel like naked Diggs teams just aren't winnable teams.
Right.
That's just if Josh Allen goes nuts, you're losing.
All right, so we are moving on to round 18 here. And Terp has gone with you already said your receivers are done. There's still a chance you might take another quarterback. Well, is there still a chance you might take another quarterback?
There's still a chance.
Okay.
It's just a question of do I do it or not? Because there's really only one running back on the board right now that I actually care about. So he's probably going to be my next pick. And the quarterback idea just went out the toilet because Baker Mayfield would have been the guy that I was trying to build with. Daniel Bellinger. I have no idea who Daniel Bellinger is. Do you know who Daniel Bellinger is?
No, I'm not familiar. I'm going to look him up right now, though.
Okay, since I'm on the clock here.
Yeah.
This is the last running back that I like. I mean, there's other guys that I could draft.
Bellinger is a tight end from the Giants, Terp.
Oh, interesting. I guess. I mean, I guess somebody read the puff piece that Roto World had the other day.
Yeah, I was just saying, Jordan Renan just had a report. He covers the Giants for ESPN, said that Bellinger was his offseason standout.
I feel like they just put that stuff out there to put it out. And
I'll tell you this about beat writers. I don't envy them this time of year.
No,
because people are just craving, especially fantasy football players, craving information, and there's just nothing out there. Like you gotta.
No, right now is a dead zone in drafts.
Yeah.
It's tough to draft because right now there's no news, there's no training camp. It's literally just hoping a beat writer puts a puff piece out there,
right?
And you get lucky during a draft if somebody's reading it.
Right.
I was just on the clock. And the last running back that I like was Dearness Johnson. I think Kareem Hunt does get traded. And if he doesn't get traded, we saw what Johnson could do last year. I think it was last year. Yeah, last year. He definitely has limited upside. But if Hunt gets traded, I mean, he's a guy that's going to get Nick Chubb's not getting every carry.
Right.
So I feel like as a 6 running back, would I have preferred Haskins? Would I have preferred White? Of course. But I'm fine with him as my 6 running back. He has upside. Let's see. Do I take another quarterback? No. Maybe.
I'm trying to find I'm looking at roster and I'm trying. I don't think there's any stacking possibility left now for you, right?
I mean, the only stackable option, which if somebody takes it, I don't really care, is I think Jimmy Garoppolo is going to the Browns. I feel like when Watson gets suspended for the season, they make the move. It just makes too much sense. Like what with him with David Bell or like maybe like a Harrison Bryant as like a 20th round dart. I don't think I'm going to go that way. I think I'm done. I think I'm just going to take. I don't know. I mean, do I go with the problem with quarterbacks right now is you look at other guys who left. I'm not drafting Trubisky. I would draft Kenny Pickett because I think he'll be the starter when it counts, and I won't need him until like he's a guy that could be different because nobody's drafted Kenny Pickett,
right?
But who do you draft Kenny Pickett with? And none of them guys are there. There's no George Pickens. Like, do I waste 2 picks and take like a Desmond Ridder and a Brian Edwards as like a totally?
Yeah, I would not do that.
I'm not doing that.
Yeah,
I'm not doing. I've wasted a lot of money in my life on Brian Edwards, and I'm going to stop now because I've always been a believer, but I don't think I can be a believer anymore.
It was so weird because when I was talking to high stakes dynasty guys, when before that draft, everybody was telling me Brian Edwards, and then the fact that he got dinged up, but he still played and he just couldn't get on the field, and I was like, and I totally whiffed on him because I got him in a ton of dynasty drafts and it just didn't work out. So I feel you're paying there.
So there's 2 options I can go with here. One, I could stack another stack with, which I think I'm leaning toward right now with Davis Mills. I could take Mechie. I don't need him to be available, but he's a guy that at the end of the season could win me a league.
Mm-hmm.
He's an Alabama guy, talented receiver. Terrible injury. They win the national championship if him and Jameson Williams don't get hurt. I feel like it's just like some good mojo to draft them both. And I have a full stack now with the Texans. It's kind of like under the radar. So my pick will be John
Mechie. And that stack, by the way, of Mills, Collins, and Mechie, you didn't pay higher than a 15th round pick for any of it.
None of it. And at the end of the day, who's behind Davis Mills? Not anybody we're really worried about.
I couldn't even tell you who it is. And now I'm curious myself who it is, actually. Okay, so now you are officially done with I shouldn't say that. What are you looking for in this last pick? I mean, obviously we know
my last pick is quarterbacks. I don't know.
Kyle Allen,
I'm going to put Kenny Pickett in the queue. Okay. Kenny Pickett's the only guy that I would consider. I don't really know why. It's not like I don't have any conviction with it. I like the player. I think he's going to be the starter by the end of the year, but I have nobody to go with him. So, like, let's just say Kenny Pickett is a league winner. Like, is he going to really score that many more points than Davis Mills or Lamar Jackson to make a difference? I don't think so. So, to me, running back's my weakest position. One of the receivers I love is still there. It will be one of those 2 players. A tight end, maybe. I could take a Tyler Conklin type of guy, a Cade Otton type of guy if you're banking on Gronk not coming back. Harrison Bryant, like I mentioned, is a possibility. The rookie from the Denver, maybe. I mean,
I guess the point here is the fact that you're thinking about all these different players that you could take, all these different positions you could take in the 20th round. It means that your structure worked out. the structure that you planned and executed tonight, it worked out. That gives you this flexibility here.
At the end of the day, structure in these things, no matter what anybody tells you, is the most important. If you go off the rails and you try to get too cute and then try to catch up, you could be putting yourself in just a wild disaster. Your team's drawing dead before it starts. If you structure everything right, obviously you need things to fall in your way. Like we talked about the tight ends. I'll keep talking about the tight ends. That felt perfect to where I could pretty much just stop.
Yeah.
And be done. And yeah, drafting 2 tight ends is a risk because injuries obviously can happen in the preseason. And you know, one of them go down, I'm banking on one guy the whole year. And that's, you know, a fear. But is there a 20th round tight end that can give me anything? Maybe. There are some guys there that present some, you know, late. Because I'm drafting, if you're drafting right now in the 20th round of best ball and you're drafting, let's go through some of the guys who are left at position players, wide receiver. If you're drafting James Washington or Sterling Shepard or Tyler Johnson, Marcus Callaway, the 20th round draft pick in best ball should be just a shoot for the moon guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a shoot for the moon guy that some of my friends in the high stakes dynasty love. He's a running back, and he probably will be my pick if he makes it. Marshall would have been my guy that I would consider a receiver. So receiver realistically is done for me. I don't have any worries at that position. I'm 8 deep. I have, like I said, stackable with Mills. If he is anything what I think he's going to be, one of Collins and Michi should be fine. Jameson Williams, I don't need him right away. And I got the 5 guys up top. So I'm not worried about receiver at all. So it's pretty much down the tight end or
that running back
that I want. Kenny Pickett's still in consideration, but I don't think so.
Before we get to your final pick, I just want to ask you about the 2 Packers receivers. Actually, there's 3 Packers receivers. I take that back. That all went off the board here in round 19. Romeo Doubs, Sammy Watkins, and Randall Cobb. For the best ball tournament format, do you have a favorite Packers receiver there, knowing that it's basically Christian Watson, Alan Lazard that went before them, but then these 3 guys all in 19?
Can I pick none of the above? I mean, it's hard. It's hard to. You're a Packers guy. It's hard to. I mean, I made a bet.
There's
with
a lot of
Watson.
people. I'll tell you this: in Northeast Wisconsin right now, there's a lot of positive hype around Romeo Doubs.
They have to add somebody. In my opinion, like I'm not a Will Fuller guy. I don't think he loves football, but Will Fuller just seems like he just fits this team. Him or Julio, like just a veteran presence to like these guys are not number ones. And like you said, if I had to pick somebody, it would be the unknown. Okay. And that's Doubs. What's Sammy Watkins? I mean, Sammy Watkins, I'm on the clock.
Yeah.
So
now the running back was not Damian Williams, right?
The running back, I hope not, but no. I like Damian Williams is not a terrible pick here. He has some like standalone upside for like a week or 2, but that's it. There's a lot of questions in Baltimore. A ton of questions. Dobbins, don't know. Edwards, don't know. Mike Davis, stop. So there's a rookie they drafted, which a lot of my friends who play, I'm not a dynasty guy at all. I don't play it at all. But there's a lot of guys that people love. So I am going to select with my 20th round pick. I'm terrible with last names, so I'm going to go with Tyler. I think his name is Badai.
Farrell Elliott always says Batty. Every time I say it on the show,
I'm awful with names. I
screw it up. I'm like, I always think like I think it's Beatty. So I'm going to say Beatty, and then Farrell always corrects me. No, it's Tyler Batty. So it's Tyler Batty as the 20th round pick, the rookie running back from Baltimore on this squad. Another high. It fits what when I asked you earlier what you're looking for in a late round running back, it fits the bill.
There's no downside. What's the downside? He stinks. He's on the practice squad. If Dobbins ain't ready, what if Gus Edwards ain't ready?
Right.
Are we really going to bank on Mike Davis? Stop.
Well, I mean, Dave the Dizzle Gerzak has been saying, like, he thinks the reason Mike Davis was brought in when he was brought in is because Edwards is not ready and Dobbins is not ready, and they need somebody in that running game, and that somebody it might be Tyler Batty. I think they hope to give.
But at this point, you have to take a shot. Like you're looking at some of these guys who are getting Snoop Connor, great pick. Justin Ross, great pick. Trey McBride, great pick. Tyquan Thornton, great pick. Marquis Brown, Damian Williams, James Washington, Marshall, all aboard. I'm riding that train until it crashes. Donovan Peoples-Jones, no. Kate Otten, yes. I mean, all these guys are all upside picks for the 20th round. If they're Elijah Mitchell or Cordarrelle Patterson, you're winning this league. If your other guys are okay, obviously no injuries. But that's what you need in these drafts. You can't be taking guys like, no disrespect, James Washington. I guess.
Terp, let's just for the viewers out there, just to rehash your roster, because I'm struggling to put it all on the screen at the same time. But your roster at quarterback, you ended up getting Lamar Jackson, Davis Mills. Running backs, Travis Etienne, Ramondre Stevenson, Ronald Jones, Michael Carter, Khalil Herbert, Dearness Johnson, Tyler Batty. Receivers are Jamar Chase, Mike Evans, Rashad Bateman, Jerry Jeudy, Devontae Smith, Jameson Williams, Nico Collins, Wan'Dale Robinson, John Mechie. Tight ends are Cole Kmet and Irv Smith. So, I think the takeaways, and this is stuff that you've been saying all night, the receivers are awesome. The tight ends worked out for you in the middle of the draft. You got your backup to Lamar Jackson, who you got good value on. But this team will be on the shoulders and the legs of Travis Etienne, because if he can't pull his third round weight, you'll be in trouble. If he does, this is a really good looking squad.
This is a team that could win it all. I mean, out of all the drafts I've done so far, this is by far my favorite. The one I just did that wasn't live, I did like a Buck stack with a Bear stack that turned out really well. But people are going to always, like, people that don't build structures like this are always going to say, well, your running backs are average. Obviously, that's true. But
you have to be weak
turns what I
right?
think he is. I think Etienne's a top 5 pick next year.
And that's the point, too, is like you're talking about 12 people trying to win $200,000, trying to beat out a lot of teams. Mm-hmm. You can't just have a dominant team everywhere. No. You have to be.
You're going to have some weakness. If you come out of every draft saying I'm perfect everywhere, you're not perfect everywhere.
No. Then your player analysis is a little off if you're perfect everywhere when you get out of one of these. Are you still giving yourself an A grade for this one?
I don't think I can ever give myself an A+ in any draft, because there's always a mistake. If it was like a Haskins, Zamir White instead of Dearness Johnson, who I like, maybe I'd sneak in. I'm staying with the A. I'm very bullish on drafts I do, and I'm also very honest. There's drafts that I do that I come out and I literally want to bang my head against the wall.
Yeah.
This isn't one of them. This is a draft that from start to finish, like from not taking digs, because I know that if I took digs, what I would have to do, getting Lamar Jackson in the 6th round, getting the tight end double tap in 9 and 10, which I feel is great value, not getting too cute, taking Stevenson where I got him, getting plenty of running backs that have upside with Herbert, Carter, Jones, Johnson, and even Batty. I think I said that right.
Yeah.
I mean, the stack that's free with Mills. I mean, if Mills is a 17-game starter, I think they play now 16 games. I don't even know these days. I mean, that stack is free.
Right.
With Lamar Jackson and Bateman, would I have liked to add, one of the guys? But Batty is another guy that go in with the stack. I mean, I'm not sitting here saying, but he's a guy that's not going to be owned. And I look at like in these late rounds, like guys that will be different when it comes to what matters. Because obviously you want to win your league, but you also want to get to the later rounds and have somebody that stand out. Because I don't think you're going to see many Davis Mills stacks without Cooks later in the draft. And I couldn't be more ecstatic without Odell.
I'm excited for you for this draft. I think you're right. I think this is a really strong team. And obviously if Etienne does what you're hoping he does, it's a dominant team. And it's a team that you never know what could happen at the end of this coming season. It's very
just
exciting.
Get me in the top 2. Just get me in the top 2 out of this league and let me dance to see what happens, because that's all that matters. I don't care. First, second, doesn't matter. After that, I'll take my chances with this team against anybody else.
This was fun, Terp. I appreciate it. If people want to chime in with you and talk with you about this on Twitter, you are at Dave Terp, correct?
That's correct.
DAVETERP. And I have a feeling This will not be the last time we do this. We'll probably do this again.
We'll be doing this soon, definitely.
I would imagine we got Pros versus Joes coming up in a couple of weeks. Maybe we can squeeze in one more before Pros versus Joes.
You tell me when, and I'll be there.
All right. Let me look at the schedule and see what we can do there, and see if we can hammer one out. Because I know the viewers are really, really excited about this broadcast as well. Terp, be good. We will talk with you again real soon. Good draft, buddy.
Have a good night, brother.
Dave Terpoilli, ladies and gentlemen, popping in tonight for the live broadcast of the 2022 FFPC Best Ball Tournament draft. He was drafting from the 5 spot tonight, and I think he did a pretty good job. As a reminder, I know I mentioned the Best Ball Tournament, the Superflex Tournament, the Football Guys Players Championship weekday giveaway. This is the week to get in on those. If you draft the team by Thursday, or start a slow draft by Friday, then you'll be eligible to be in the drawing for a free Football Guys team. myffpc.com/footballguys is where you want to sign up for that. We also have Dynasty startups rolling on, and of course, closed 12-team slow live sit and go best ball options, all at myffpc.com. As a reminder, we will be back on this stream on Wednesday night for the July edition of the RotoViz High Stakes Lowdown. It is going to be myself, Brad Petri, and Darren Larson, the winners of the 2020 Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship, a pair of guys who've won a slew of FFPC and Football Guys leagues as well. We're going to talk about their drafts so far this season, get into Kentucky a little bit, into that as well. I mentioned Pros versus Joes. That is coming up at the end of this month. That's always exciting. And we have one of the drafters on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour on Friday. Farrell Elliott and myself will be talking with former FFPC League champ and 2022 Pros versus Joes drafter, William Van Ormer. He will be our guest at 10/9 Central this Friday. I do apologize that we didn't get any podcasts out last week because I was on vacation, but that's why we did 2 High Stakes Fantasy Football Hours the week before. And you got to hear from both Rashad Cobb and Duke Viveros. You can check those out on this stream or anywhere you get your video podcast. That will do it for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you enjoyed it, and we will do this again real soon. Your Tuesday officially starts now.